Hi everyone. Welcome to the Art of Motion Picture Costume Design exhibition at the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising Museum and Gallery. This happens every year just before the Academy Awards, and we're very lucky to have a sneak preview before the public comes in. What I'm standing in front of, I've actually got goosebumps. Last year, Ruth Carter won the Academy Award for her costumes in Black Panther. To see the intricacies of what she's created it's actually mind-boggling, and you can totally see why she won the award. This costume was Angela Bassett's as the Queen, I believe, and you can see there's layers with silk screening, but what really floors me is this vest. So we'll have to do a close-up of that. It looks like it's cording lace that may have been dipped in something to make it stiff. Yeah, I mean, what else can I say? The costumes say it all. One of the great advantages of living in Los Angeles is there are tremendous resources for fashion and for costumes and the history, and one of the best, by far, hands down, is Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. And those students are really lucky because they have a museum here. And I'm sitting here with the curator of FIDM's museum, Kevin Jones.
Yes. Hi, Doris.
Hi, Kevin. Got to tell you guys that this is really special for me because I've known Kevin for 30 years, we just figured out. Mm-hmm. Is it correct that you bought your first piece of couture from me?
Yeah, it is. DIOR 1959, Saint Laurent for DIOR 59.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, that orange Chine taffeta.
Bubble.
Double bubble. It was a double bubble.
I remember that.
Boy, it'd be worth a whole lot more now than, because I think I paid $900 for it.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, you want to double your money?
Sure.
So every year, FIDM installs this unbelievably extravagant and intricate collection of potential Oscar nominees as well as Oscar nominees for Best Costume.
Yes.
What I want to know from you is, how do you figure out which films to go after to use in your exhibition?
Because we do this show every year, and we're sitting in the 28th annual exhibition, which is, I can't believe that many years have gone by, and I started when it was 8 years old.
Wow.
So now 28, and it takes 1 year, and every year it gets more difficult, and I'll tell you why, because we were doing this before anybody else. Mm-hmm. The celebration of costume design for the movies really did not have much of a voice. Maybe once in a blue moon, there would be an exhibition about some Hollywood costumes, and usually it was golden age Hollywood, the 30s, the 40s. Mm-hmm. Not contemporary, not what was in the theaters that we all just saw that is then up for Best Costume Design. So we begged and borrowed as much as we could in the early years, but now the studios are coming to us to say, hey, we've got a great movie, would you like to showcase our costumes? But the problem is that now everybody is doing this.
Uh-oh.
Every time a movie opens, every theater, in each of the theaters around the world, the studios want to use their costumes as promotions. That never happened before. So we would ask for a costume, they would find it for us, we could have it for the run of the exhibition, but now we have to ask for it and make sure it's not going to be taken away from us next week.
Oh dear.
Because they want it in a promotion in London or in, Vermont. Even, it's tricky now.
Wow. So you begin this process
Tomorrow, for next year.
for next year.
Seriously, it takes the
Wow,
entire
I had no
year.
idea.
We start by talking to all of our industry friends. You're so connected with the movie industry. Doris, have you heard about any good movies that are coming out? We talk with our studios connections, the archives, they're fantastic. The rental warehouses, because they're hands-on, and we watch all the trade magazines and any of the publications that talk about what's coming in summer 2020. Or Christmas time 2020, so that we will have an idea of what's coming out.
So in the 20 years you've been involved, have you ever
missed a film that got nominated?
All right. We have had all 5 nominees every single year for the 20 years that actually for the 28 years, except for 2 films. One of the films, ironically, was The Devil Wears Prada. And the reason why we could not get the costumes is because they were all sold.
What?
The movie premiered in New York, and there was an auction of Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway's, all the costumes that they wore,
Right.
Because they could, for charity or for whatever reason, and also that the studios could recoup the costs. It's expensive. And we could not find a pair of shoes to put in a case.
Wow.
So, and then the other was the movie The Fair of the Necklace. We did not have it for the opening. We did get it later because the costumes were coming from Italy, and they had some weird feathers on them, and customs stopped them in Washington, D.C. That's where they were coming through, and they would not allow them in the country. But even though we're a nonprofit foundation open to the public for free, and we're an educational institution, it was still some exotic feathers that they would not allow in the country.
And you were able to...
A week later, somehow, I think we were able to work it out with customs, or we nixed the costume that had the feathers on it, and we got the other pieces. Yeah.
Wow.
But otherwise, we have had all 5 nominees every year. And I have to say, we're very proud because we truly don't have any kind of weird insider information. It is a guessing game for us, too. We're looking at the movies, we're looking at the costumes. It doesn't matter if it's a huge budget film or a small independent. Do they have the best costume design of that given year? And that's what we want to showcase.
Right.
Not only for, our public that's visiting, and we love all of the public to come. This is a free institution, but also for our students because we teach this.
Right.
We have so many of our students that are in the industry, and we have had the full circle from student to working in the industry, getting their feet wet to becoming costume designers, and then we have their costumes in our gallery.
Wow.
So it's
That's
fun.
thrilling.
It's fun, but we have no insider information, and it's completely a guessing game on our end too.
The thing that I find so amazing, though, is I remember, I believe it was the year you had Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
Oh my God, the
Yes.
sets that you had for that,
Yes.
it was a remarkable installation. And at the time, I believe you mentioned, you get these things sometimes like not maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So you
Yes.
have to have the whole thing choreographed.
Yes.
But the mannequins need to be, proper sizes. The wigs
Exactly.
need to be period
Right.
hairstyles.
Yes.
How do you coordinate all this?
We have to stay flexible. That's the main thing about this exhibition. Most exhibitions in a museum setting, they're very, very detailed, down to the nth degree, and everything is planned very far in advance. With this show, because the movies are coming out through Christmas from the year before,
Right.
we're always showcasing the year before film. So our 2020 exhibition, it's all films from 2019. But we have 2019 films coming out at Christmas time. We are opening today now, February 1st. That gives us 1 month. We try to plan as far in advance, but that doesn't mean that we're going to be able to get the costumes even, because they're coming from all over the world. They're not just located here geographically in the Hollywood area. So it's tricky. We talk to our friends in the movie industry. We want the collateral if they have storyboards, original storyboards, like with LinkedIn, to really show the process that the designer went through. Once in a while, we're able to get some set pieces. But the thing that's also, I think, maybe the general public or our students don't necessarily understand about costume design or movie making is that what we sit down and watch in the theater does not happen last week. Productions are often 2-3 years, so what we're looking at, a designer maybe designed 3 years ago. They're already onto another film that we'll see in 2 years. So once the filming has wrapped for the production of the film, the costumes are done. That's what they're needed for. So then they disappear. They either go back to the studios, if they have an archive. They go back to the rental warehouses, like Palace Costume here in Los Angeles, Tirelli's in Italy, Prop in England. And so are those outfits even available for us to borrow? even if they're not already using it in their production.
Right.
So it's very difficult, and we just have to stay flexible. We always want the main costumes in the films that we find are the very best, but at times it doesn't happen.
Right. Well, I have to say, it was breathtaking for me to walk in before I ran into you to see the 2 costumes from last year's Academy Award.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, to see those costumes up close and personal is like, wow.
And that is a tradition that we have had from the beginning, that because we've been blessed to have had the nominations for Best Costume, and we've had every one of the Best Costume Design winners, is that we have a tribute to that winning designer, and we bring them back for the following year. So Ruth Carter won last year for Black Panther.
Woo!
I know, amazing. I hope you all got to see it. And it's fantastic to be able to bring those costumes back. Because they are the very best. They're extraordinary. And it's wonderful also to give the designers a platform to speak about their work.
Right.
That's why we love all of you in the media, because it really gives them a voice to be able to talk about what it takes to actually do this. And it is a difficult 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week job when you're on a movie set. There is no downtime.
No downtime, and there's very little lead time for a lot of these.
Exactly.
Where someone might get cast and then they're supposed to be in front of the camera the next day.
Right.
So it's really, I mean, for those of you that are unfamiliar with the film world, it's kind of shocking when you hear the inside stories.
It is.
But I also want to make a point of saying that, you know, because of my friendship with you and the close proximity of FIDM to where I live, this museum puts on fantastic exhibitions, and their collection of clothing, you have one of the largest collections of Rudi Gernreich, I think, in the world.
The largest.
The largest, okay.
Actually, the archive.
Wow. And if you were to kind of look into the other gems that are here at this museum, it's really worth stopping by if you're in Los Angeles, just to see if there is an exhibition, if you're lucky enough to catch an exhibition.
Yes.
But also for those of you that are aspiring to either be clothing designers or fashion costume designers, this is definitely one of the best places to come to.
We have approximately 16,000 pieces in the collection of historic dress.
Wow.
More than 225,000 pieces of ephemera. And it goes back 4 centuries.
Wow.
And so we have costume designers and their researchers come all the time for the movies. We also have researchers from other museums around the world. We're constantly loaning to other institutions. And fashion designers. It really is a working collection. It's fantastic. We also have a 1,500-piece hands-on study collection, which goes back 200 years. And anybody can actually handle those. Most of those actually go into the classrooms for our students. If they're studying raglan sleeves or the 1880s or, Lesage embroidery, they actually need to see that work and to be able to touch it in order to be able to learn what it's like. I mean, I've been lucky knowing you because I could go to you and say, can I touch this 1880s dress? And you're like, please do. So that's what's fantastic is this, you have to have it before you in order to learn it. It's really important.
Yeah. Well, what's wonderful, too, is, most people think of New York as being the place for fashion and fashion history. But this museum is definitely a destination point.
And particularly for sportswear, because, we are the sportswear capital of the world. We have been for decades and decades.
Right.
With all of the different manufacturers and bathing suits and so forth. And you talk about Rudi Gernreich. We're actually working on a major Rudi Gernreich exhibition and catalog right now. And we're in photography for the catalog, and I cannot wait for you to see the photos.
I can't wait to see.
Gorgeous, yeah.
The catalog. Yeah. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
That's great. So as far as this particular exhibition goes, I noticed also there was something that I've never seen before, which is the stop motion.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit about that?
Leica Productions. It's the movie Missing Link. And if you haven't seen it, it's seriously adorable. I was fortunate enough to go to the premiere, and the director was there, and I was talking with him about it, and congratulations, this is charming. I personally love stop animation, and I'm not a designer, I'm not going into the industry, I'm staying in the museum field, but if I were, I would want to do the miniature stop animation. There's just something about those costumes which are incredible, and I hope one day that there will be an Academy Award nomination, at least, for the work that goes into those kinds of films. So I was talking to the director, and I said, do you have any set pieces? Like, what happens to all of that? Because it's so intricate and detailed. And when you watch the film at the very end, they show you some behind-the-scenes shots of how they made the film. And that's what kind of gave me the idea to ask him, do any of those set pieces exist? And this actually is one of the set pieces that was used in the film. It's not a staged piece.
To go through the exhibition and just absorb and digest.
Yes, exactly. There's lots of details. That's actually what's wonderful about this exhibition, because, you watch a film, you get into the story. And sometimes you're supposed to notice what's being worn, and other times you're not supposed to see what's being worn. And that's good costume design.
Right.
Even if it's a contemporary film, it's a sci-fi production, or it's a historical something or other. And there's so much that we miss while watching the film, because the camera doesn't pan down and look at every detail. So when you come to our galleries, we kind of freeze frame the movie. So you can actually look at all of the details that the designer has put into it, and the thought process for the character development, because that's what it's all about. It's specifically character development, not what is the designer like, or does that actor feel comfortable in a corset? No, because they don't wear a corset all the time. But in the 18th century, their character would have.
Right.
So it suddenly changes the body, it changes the posture, it gives them a sense of being in that time period. So there's so many details that you get to see, and where your eye wants to go and what you're attracted to. And that's one of the great things about the exhibition.
Well, only one of the great things.
Oh, thank you.
Because seriously, just to look at the intricacies of how some of these things, texture reads on camera.
Yes.
And so details are really important. And, like you said, because they're not panning on the costume, oftentimes you miss the artisanal work that has been done to create these things.
It's true, and it's not like getting dressed for every day, even if it's a contemporary film. Think of what you're wearing, but it has to read from 100 feet away. So that means the silhouette has to be strong, or the color has to be strong. And either you have to blend in or stand out. What does that scene call for? But then literally instantly, there is a close-up of you, and your shoulders are 30 feet wide. And with high definition, you can practically see the weave structure of the fabrics. Designers have to think about this all the time, of how their costumes are going to morph when they're on set, and to try to anticipate everything, because you do not want to have a costume malfunction that is going to delay filming, because that's going to cost a lot of money and you may not get another job. But also, you and I got dressed and we didn't consult with what we're wearing, nor did we think, oh, what's my background?
Right.
Am I going to blend or am I going to stand out?
Right.
Designers have to consult with the set decorators, the production people. What kind of lighting is being used? Is it natural lighting? Because with cameras today, you can use so much more natural lighting than the kind of halogen lights that they used to use. What's going to happen in post-production with all the CGI work? Because that can affect the costume colors. All of that has to be worked out. You have to consult what kind of lenses are being used on the camera, because that is going to affect how the costumes are going to be looked at. So a designer has to be aware of literally every aspect of production, not just how to sew a button on or create legamut sleeves. So it's not like our everyday life. It truly is a world that is completely created to attract our eye to a point, or to make us not see something because it's a plot point. Yeah, it's amazing what goes into costume design for the movie industry.
Well, and then add to that the subliminal aspects of color
Yes.
and, you know, tone. And anyway, we
Yes.
could go on for hours.
Yeah.
But
I want to say one thing about those costumes, that for me, being here with the exhibition, I'm very fortunate to get to see that really even our visitors don't necessarily have, and that's to see the insides of the costumes.
oh, right.
You know, there's a lot of magic that happens inside, and we know that we human bodies don't necessarily look like the superhero bodies, you know, and there's a lot of magic that goes into it. But one of the things that I appreciate also was what the designers do for the actors that is solely for the actor.
Right.
One of my favorite was Leonardo DiCaprio's outfit from Gatsby. And the lining of one of his suits had dollar signs. And you never saw that on film. It wasn't a plot point within the script. It was solely done because his character needed to become rich to woo the woman that he was in love with. And so the designer puts this patterning in solely for him, so he can feel that in his character. And I just love those hidden details.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Well, I'm really excited. We just literally walked in,
Yes.
ran into you,
Yeah.
and haven't had a chance to look at this incredible exhibition.
Enjoy the evening.
We will.
Glad you're here and glad you're all here.
The party is pretty spectacular as well, but
is.
for the most part, we want to see the exhibition before the crowds come in.
Yes, this is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because then it's elbow to elbow.
Yeah, well, you've been so generous with your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Doris.
I love stop-action films, and I have not seen Missing Link, but after seeing this installation, you know, I'm going to leave this party and look it up on Netflix because it looks like it's going to be an incredibly wonderful theme, story. The character costumes are amazing, and to be able to see the actual costumes on the board and the inspiration, and then the characters themselves, this is something I've never seen before, so it actually, it brings out the kid in me. It really excites me. One of my favorite costume designers is Ariane Phillips. She's become a dear friend, and when she was prepping for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which happily she's been nominated for an Academy Award for, she came to me to see if I had any pieces she might be able to use in production. And I'm happy to say that we had quite a few pieces for her. So I don't recognize any of the things that are on these 5 mannequins, but these are the costumes that were from her film. I unfortunately do not know who Julian Day is, but I have to say you could probably guess where these costumes are from. They're spectacular. I was just told that there's over 250,000 Swarovski crystals on the baseball uniform. The original one had sequins, but and I believe Bob Mackie designed that. And I have to say this one is my favorite. It's just incredible, and I wish I had an outfit like that to wear. It's beautiful.